Hey, this is Dave from metalepidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What is up, guys? Dave here from Metal Epidemic, joined by Duncan and by Kyle, back for another album review. And for this review, Duncan, Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from international heavy metal quintet Beast in Black. The band's new album, Dark Connection, will be released on October 29th via Nuclear Blast Records. After the success of their first two records, their debut Berserker in 2017 and its follow-up From Hell with Love in 2019, both platinum certified in Finland, and the latter of the two also hitting the top 10 of the German album charts. Sharp riffs and hyper-catchy choruses are still the dominating elements of this group's sound. 2021 brings the band's third full-length album, Dark Connections, produced, recorded and mixed by founder and guitarist Anton Kabanen, as well as mastered by Emil Pojalainen from Amethyst Productions. That was a tough one, guys. Come on. So, I'll be totally honest here. This is not usually my genre of choice. Power metal is not quite my tempo. However, I am a sucker for a massive hooky chorus. And when I slapped my ears on One Night in Tokyo, I was sold, instantly sold. Not only was this hook laden, but it also had a kind of sci-fi, almost kind of synthwave type streak to it. And then when I looked at the track titles for this, I could tell by some of the titles that it wasn't going to just be like a kind of one-off. And then I read the press release and it started to make more sense. So guitarist Anton, he said there's a few ongoing themes on the album at least. One of them might even be familiar to fans of my earlier work. Tracks such as Highway to Mars, Moonlight Rendezvous lead into the cyberpunk worlds of the Armitage 3 anime series and are even partly Blade Runner inspired. So I must admit, after reading that, I was like, ooh, maybe I need to go back and have a wee listen to some of that earlier material to see if this was something that they had always done. And it is to an extent.
I love how Dave's like calling them out in there. Oh, you see that in your press statement. I'll be the judge of that.
Yes, exactly. But they were telling the truth. That's fair enough. You can hear some
We're telling the truth.
Some 80s. I'll give Anton his due. You know, he spoke the truth, so I'll take that. There's definitely some kind of 80s electronica sounds on that last album. Tracks like Die by the Blade and True Believer. But there were also kind of moments of like more kind of like folk metal and more kind of symphonic elements on that last album, which I'm not going to lie, I kind of struggled with that a little. Not the biggest fan of those styles, but still, I went in this fairly optimistically. And the first thing I have to say about this band is, no doubt they can write a hook, like 100%. They can write a hook, regardless of the style. I'm not sure if this is like solely Anton that does all the writing, but the choruses on Dark Connection, huge, absolutely huge. And a part of this does kind of lean into power metal. It has that kind of like high octane kind of drive with the kind of big uplifting chords. It's a little theatrical at times, but also has something kind of more rooted in a kind of traditional metal as well. And that kind of more metal tone, to me, like a kind of like Herman Frank or Primal Fear, it feels like it kind of balances the sound out, and it kind of stops it from becoming too dramatic. You know, like a Rhapsody of Fire or even like Powerwolf. They also have a bit of Judas Priest in there as well. You know, there's a little bit of Accept, Iron Savior. You know, and the way that they kind of load up those like big choruses, you know, with those big hooks. But what I also enjoyed was, on top of that, we have also got these like electronic elements, you know, and synths that are adding another layer to their sound. Sometimes the sounds are more kind of like modern sounding. Put me in mind of the band we just reviewed recently called One Morning Left. Yeah. Kind of similar to them, and
Very
Amaranth
so, yeah.
as well. A little bit of that in there as well. And those bands have a more kind of like modern metal sound. But then there were also moments in the album where they they kept the keys kind of fairly old school with an almost kind of like 80s vibe to them as well. And I think that does help. When you start to experiment with stuff like synthwave, these type of elements on tracks like Moonlight Rendezvous, it doesn't feel like so much of a stretch because they've already been playing with a lot of kind of retro synth sounds on the first part of the album. And not all of the kind of synths are like, full of like quirkiness. Sometimes they do go a bit darker, a bit more serious. The intro to Revengeance Machine has a very kind of like sci-fi movie soundtrack kind of feel to it. Very Blade Runner, as Anton mentioned earlier. And vocally, and I'm as shocked as you here, I love this. I absolutely love this. Yanis Papadopoulos is the vocalist.
What a name!
I know, fucking amazing.
Rolls off the tongue.
What a range this guy has. That falsetto vocal was just what was the track? Highway to Mars. Jesus Christ, that voice is just ridiculous. That there's moments where he was actually competing with some of the kind of high-end lead work of the guitar. I'm just like, how high can this guy's voice go? The notes he hits are just ridiculous, but he can do it all. He's got a really kind of warm but kind of powerful mid-range that suits the moments of the tracks where they're just driving forward with a good groove. Then those choruses kick in and you've got this huge range and a great tone. He also delivers kind of really well thought out melodies as well, that really get stuck in your head. Belladonna, Broken Survivors, One Night in Tokyo, all great examples of some of the most kind of infectious moments of the album. And I can see why they released One Night in Tokyo as a single. That synth intro, however, just need to bring up one thing. It is basically Mr. Vane by Culture Beat. The start of that song, 100%. I actually listened to them after each other to listen to the intros. It's very, very similar to Mr. Vane by Culture Beat.
I mean, I know what I want.
But I will let it slide because it's so damn catchy. I'll let you have that one. I think they also do the kind of straight up kind of metal very well. Tracks like Dark New World, it still has a bit of a kind of synth and kind of big epic chorus, but the main riff feels like something you'd hear from an Iron Savior. Wasn't so much a fan of the pan pipes, has to be said. But I think it was always
too far for Dave.
Yeah, too far. But I think there was always the potential for things like that were just not going to be my taste on this album. Tracks like Hardcore were maybe just a little bit too corny lyrically for me. It almost kind of goes into Lordy territory. And My Dystopia was the other one that was very theatrical. But I kind of expected there to be areas that were just kind of outside my wheelhouse. But the only other kind of small gripe I had was the length. I think an hour of Beast in Black might be kind of pushing it for me. As a new listener of the band and one that's not a huge power metal fan, I found it maybe just outstayed its welcome slightly. But I imagine for fans of Beast in Black, they will probably love an hour of this, absolutely love it. For me, it was just maybe 10, 15 minutes. I think they could have just shaved off the end personally, but the only other two things I want to mention
I'm surprised we're taking so long to get to this bit.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait. I'll let you guys say what you need to say on the album, and then we'll come back to the two cover songs at the end of the album.
Right.
All right, and we'll discuss those separately. So, Duncan, what did you make of the rest of the album?
I mean, I liked One Night in Tokyo when you set it around. I don't think I was as sold as you were. You were absolutely spaffing your nads all over the place.
Yep.
Spaffing your nads.
A lot of washing got done that week. Yep.
Yeah. Is that for you pissing yourself? That's a different review. If we're all in order, what we're doing, you'll find it somewhere on the internet. I thought it was kind of cool, but I think at the time when we were chatting about it on the podcast, what I'd said was, it's doing some cool stuff, but I've heard a lot of bands do kind of stuff like that before, and it did kind of feel like there was a part of, I think, Eskimo Callboy have opened the gates now to a lot of bands just coming in with the cheesiest Euro techno ever and infusing it in under the guise of synthwave, to kind of slide it in, see if they can get the cool kids in there. And that's how I felt when I listened to that. I was like, oh, of course that makes sense. Coming off the back of us listening to the stuff from We Buttered the Bread with Butter as well, which also has these swaths to that. I was kind of a bit wary The two bands that you mentioned actually as comparisons recently are two bands that I noted as well. So Amaranthi and I forgot the name of the band. One
More on the left.
One More on the Left. Who like like that album, like especially when you listen to tracks like Ruby Dragon and stuff, like were full of these kind of 80s synth moments. Coming to listen to it, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted a whole album of One Night in Tokyo, and thankfully I don't get a whole album of One Night in Tokyo. I think they get the balance, for the most part, between really cheesy power metal, because power metal to me is innately cheesy, I'm sorry, really cheesy power metal, and really interesting synth stuff. Like perfect. I was kind of taken on with this. I'm kind of gutted that they didn't just cover Highway to Hell and change it to Highway to Mars. I'm on a highway to Mars. It would have worked. But then there's covers to talk about later on, so we'll get to that. I think there are moments in here as well where it steps up. I think the vocals are a big part of that. Like, that's what bands like this tend to... That's where they become a bit lazy for me, is when vocalists can just do that naturally high falsetto tone and then they just do that all the way through it. This guy's got range and he sticks in with that range. I might be wrong, but is there female vocals on this as well? Or is that him as well? Well, I'm sure that there's vocals on here that are being sung by a female. So if there's a female in the band, she's also singing. If there's not a female in the band, this is why I should read the notes. If there's not a female in the band, then he either modulates his voice into a very feminine tone, or there's guest vocalists in here that aren't listed. But there was a couple of moments where this kind of feminine voice come through that really kind of struck me, because it was just a different tone in the music. It has pretty much one speed for the most of the album, and that's the power metal speed. It's kind of rapid, no frills, no fucks. Guitars, wicked. Guitar solos, minted. It kind of has. The thing about it is, as well, as when you were talking about like an Amaranthi as a band, as a comparison, their music sounds more modern, whereas the riff playing on this sounds of the era. Does have that kind of 80s almost, dare I say, and I don't want to say, there's elements that start moving over into the Iron Maiden, but not quite there. So they've kind of captured that, so there's an authentic thing that's going on with it as well. But what kind of struck me is the hooks are so fucking good. Like, every time I was like, I remember this kind of song setting up similar to the one before, you would get a chorus that kicked in, I'd be like, oh, well, this is just fucking the best thing since sliced bread. And then the next song would kick in, I'd be like, well, that's kind of started similar to track 2, and then a different chorus again. And they keep coming back to that, and I think that's what gives them their re-listenability for me. Well, very much like yourself, I'm not a power metal fan. I find it, like I said before, a bit cheesy. And as a result, I can't really... And there's various different shades of it now, from fucking battle metal to pirate metal to fucking power metal to My Little Pony metal and all the rest. You know, I mean, they're all out there. If there's a thing for it, they're out there, right? That I really do struggle to get in on that, but I think the addition of the synths, the addition of the kind of sci-fi overtones, and just knowing that I love that shit anyway, kind of hooked me in. I think they use it not as a gimmick. It feels rewarding on this album. It's very easy to just say, you know, we're doing a concept album and it's science fiction, and you listen, you go, all right. So it's just on the interludes that you've done that. The rest of the band, like Fear Factory, a great example of that. You know, oh, this is a dystopian album. It's just the fucking clips in between. The rest of it sounds like Fear Factory. This here, it's all the way through all the songs, like from start to finish. I'll agree with you. I think it's too long. I think this no more than 45 minutes should this album be, and that kind of struggles on the overall re-listen. This is an album where by about track 9, I'm kind of starting to check out, because I've heard all the different variations of what it is they do on the album, and then they're just repeating that for the rest. So that's my only gripe, is I think it's too long. I think the rest of it, I think they're very, 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 very good at what they do. And to have an album where every single song has a catchy chorus, like every single song has this fucking great chorus, is... You're allowed one or two in an album. You're not allowed an album of them. So, so there's a rule out there somewhere that says you're not allowed so many.
I think,
but this is great.
I think there's an easy fix to that album length, which we'll come to in a second. But before that,
I
Kyle,
wonder what that could be.
Kyle, what did you make of this?
I'm not a huge fan of power metal, and when you sent that One Night in Tokyo, I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
But by the time it came round in the album, I was like, this is fucking annoying. I didn't connect with this album at all, especially the end. But we'll get to those two songs in a bit, I'm sure. But they did not. They nailed. I'll say what I have to say when you get to the covers, but I mean, I'm not a fan of power metal. I never have been. I've given it more than its fair share of chances with me. It's just not my thing, and this was in no way a departure for me at all. I enjoyed it the one time I heard it, but I think an hour of it is about 55 minutes too long. It's just for me. I mean, this is really well put together. They're amazing in what they do, and I have loads of friends that are into power metal that absolutely love this band, and I just think what they do is fucking annoying. I don't like it, so I can't really say anything. It's produced really well, actually. I was listening to it, and considering it's the guitarist that does everything, I thought I would hear all guitar all the time, but no, he's really pared it back. Yeah. And he's done a fantastic job on production. Nothing really sounds too fake. The synths sound very authentic for the era. Sound really cheesy. I don't know where they're getting Blade Runner from, because Blade Runner doesn't sound like early 80s morning cartoons.
I think there's a whole swath of people that didn't understand the Vangelis score to Blade Runner. It doesn't sound like that at all.
I'm not even a little bit.
It sounds like an orchestra, but played on synths. That's
seriously.
I think people just see the imagery and just assume. I think too many people played Cyberpunk.
Yeah, more like that. But like,
they're just like, that's what it sounds like. So.
Yeah, but like, it's not. I don't know where they got that from. It is fair enough. They even have the first song is called Blade Runner. The intros to some of these songs are really good, and then I just totally turned off by the power metal. I just completely. Huh?
Don't leave us. Don't leave us, Kyle. Stay in.
No, I'm leaving. Bye. I'm out of the power metal boat. I'm drowning.
I was never in it, but.
Yeah, I'm not getting in it now.
No
change.
I'm not getting out once you're in it.
I'm in.
Next week, you'll be wearing these Dragon Force t-shirts.
Some of the solos are amazing, though. There's moments on the album that I really do appreciate, but I just cannot get on with power metal. I'm very sorry. So, yeah.
Okay.
I gave it a shot, man.
Okay.
I really did.
That's fair enough. Okay, let's point our attention towards the last two tracks of the album. Two cover songs. One cover of Battle Hymn by Manowar, and one cover of They Don't Really Care About Us by MJ, Michael Jackson.
What I want to say, right, if you're going to choose two bands to cover, one of them is Manowar. Choose them because all their songs sound the fucking same and you can do whatever you want with them. Never choose Michael Jackson. Like, unless you're going to absolutely define a new genre with doing it and do something as amazing as Michael Jackson, like Alien Ant Farm did with Smooth Criminal. That was an amazing cover. I don't know how they pulled it off, but there's like, don't cover Michael Jackson and don't cover it like this. It was painful. It was so painful. It's just, what the fuck were you thinking?
It's the thing that I'll say I didn't dislike the cover. It's just to me it's what I don't like about bands in a different genre covering. They didn't really go out their way to make it too. They metaled it up.
Yeah, sure.
Where they shine on it though, I think, is this vocalist. Is just as fucking good as Michael Jackson, if not better. Like I would much rather listen to him sing those words than Michael Jackson. He was hitting tones, and I was like, "Fuck's it!" Like he just transitions so easily up an octave without, as if it's nothing at all to him. And that level was really interesting. Music in the background that just felt like a metal version of They Don't Really Care. I told you before, like, to me, with cover songs, I just want someone to burn the original track down to the ground and rebuild it up from the ground. And I find that the easiest thing to do with a song like this is just play the guitars metally. And, but vocally, though, fucking brilliant. The Battle Hymn,
he performed it well.
Battle Hymn, I could take it or leave it. I thought personally it was almost 7 minutes of an album that was already too long. So why we brought that in? I don't get. Once again, I don't get the idea of here's a concept album, right? Here's our concept album. It has a theme. Oh, by the way, here's two unrelated cover songs. Tagged on the very end, which have nothing to do with the themes or concepts of the album that you've heard before, but we wanted to cover them. There was a time period, where I know someone out there is going, well, I think you'll find that Fear Factory did Cars, and Cars was like, Cars wasn't on the original release, it was on the Digi fucking pack.
And that was a good cover, not going to lie, that was a very
fucking
good
great cover. It was a great cover. But that's what I think you do, and I think we lose that nowadays with digital. Like, you don't get those, you buy a limited edition album where you get the 2 cover songs that they really enjoy playing in the studio. It's now just on the album.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Dave, what were your thoughts?
Well, I'll start off with Battle Hymn. I actually liked this version of Battle Hymn. I'm not a huge fan of the Manowar version.
It sounds the same, but with some synths added in.
Well, I think it's far more girthy than the original. If you listen to the original and listen to this, the guitars on this sound way heavier. And I think
that's
Manowar
does... for you. Their image is girthier than their sound is.
yeah, that's true. I thought it did add a little bit of freshness to that version of the track. And the additional synths, I think, were a nice touch. It was definitely thickened up. It did go a little bit kind of Broadway musical in the middle. But aside for that, I thought it wasn't a bad attempt. The MJ cover, they kept the kind of core elements of it fairly similar to the original. The synths are a little bit more kind of like pulsating, and the heavy drums give it more of a groove than the original. As I agree with Duncan, vocally, he's fantastic. He stays faithful to the melody, but he sounds fucking fantastic. I think that the original version's quite minimalist. There's not a lot to it, really. And I think that kind of works better, to be honest. I can see this probably going down really well as a live song. But as it being on the album, I think they should have just cut the 2 covers from this album. I think it would have helped a little with the length, if I'm honest, and just released them, separately as little bonus tracks or something like that, or release them separate from the album is what I would have said. But I didn't see the point of them on this album, unfortunately. Okay, so ratings for this one from Beast in Black. I mean.
Watch Dave come in here with a grade he never thought he would give to a band like this. I can't fucking wait. I can't wait.
I still had a lot of fun with this. As I say, it's not my normal genre of choice, but when they are firing on all cylinders like this and nailing those big choruses, this is great. Like, a couple of areas, alright, weren't to my liking stylistically, but I think fans of the band will probably expect and love that more theatrical side. Vocally, I thought it was outstanding. The songwriting is incredibly solid right through the album. Production's really good. I think production is much better than the album before as well. Same with the songwriting, actually. I had an issue with the length, 10-15 minutes too long for me, but that aside, I can totally see myself coming back to this throughout the year. It is a pick-me-up album. It's one of those albums. This is one of those albums you play Monday morning, 9 o'clock, and you're ready to go for work.
Yes.
If I did that, it would piss me off. I'd have the worst day.
I also love the idea that we're once again referencing other reviews where things have been said, which were released 2 weeks ago. I love it.
Yeah,
love
this is like
happening here.
It's like a novel we're releasing in individual parts here. I'm going to go 4 out of 5 in this one. I did really enjoy this more than I expected to.
That is a surprise.
Duncan.
4. It's a 4.
4? Nice.
It's a 4, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's like there's no way that I can't give it. Like I said, like I've been walking about the house singing these fucking choruses for the past 3 days. There's so much on here. If you're not Kyle, there's so much on here to enjoy.
Yes.
And I think once you give yourself over to the album, if you're not smiling while you're listening to it, then you are dead inside like an old tree.
Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, my last name. Old trees are all part of the deal.
What did your blackened heart rate this album?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's just not my thing, but
True.
I can tell that it's really well done, really well put together, and fans of the genre and band are going to fucking love it, so I can't give it anything less than 3.5 out of 5 from me. So, I mean, it's not
that's all right.
It's not like it's shit, it's just not my thing. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Except for that Michael Jackson cover. That is what took 0.5 off for me, because if you just don't cover Michael Jackson, all right, you're not going to do it justice.
And it's also, I mean, without taking us down like a creepy hole here, it's problematic at best.
Yeah. Especially that song. I mean, there was a lot of controversy around that song when it was released, and they had to reissue it, and there was a lawsuit, I think, and I mean, a white Finnish
I'm
band
just gonna
covering
say,
that song. It's probably not the.
Just going to say, like, the lawsuit for that song was probably not the worst legal thing that Michael Jackson had to go through.
No, but I mean, it's part of the song's history, and it's like, well, now you've added to that. Like, maybe don't go down that route, but whatever.
It's on the Wikipedia page now. It'll be a reference.
Yeah,
Covered by.
Yeah,
love it.
True.
Love it.
That is Beast in Black, Dark Connection, out on the 29th of October on Nuclear Blast Records. If you want to check these guys out, facebook.com/Beast in Black official. I'll put a link below to their Facebook and to the pre-order for the album. Let us know what you think. Obviously, a couple of us here really enjoyed it. Kyle was kind of on the fence a wee bit. But let us know what you think. When you've heard the singles, drop some comments in below. Once you've heard the album, let us know. That's the review. Thank you for checking it out, and we'll be back with another review very soon. Until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
see you later.